very practical. It's the marketplace recognition. Have you invested enough money in the market so that people recognize your mark? They make association with you whenever they hear about this name. So that's the second one. That determines how valuable your mark is. Number one, it has to be as fanciful as possible. Number two, it should have valuable marketplace recognition. Okay, so in other words, the decision, the final decision is a weighted decision. It's a weighted decision. It's not a balanced decision. It's this one, the marketplace recognition, which plays a more important role. Okay? That's why McDonald's won. And Apple should invest more money, and eventually they will probably win too. Okay, finally, there are 5 golden rules. If I were to do it again, to name my husband's business, I would follow the golden rules. Number 1, use the trademark as an adjective, as a modifier. For example, the trademark is Goodyear. Okay, use it as an adjective to modify a generic term. Generic terms of tires is a common word, right? But you name your trademark Goodyear as an adjective to modify the generic term. That's the strategy. And number 2, do not use possessive. Possessive. In other words, do not use Toyota's safety features. Don't use this as a trademark. Number 3, trademark should be used with a generic term. That's already explained. Another example is Coors beer. Coors is the trademark. Beer is a generic term. So you use this to modify beer. Okay? And finally, make sure whenever this trademark appears, you write something like this next to it, or spell it in a way so special, capitalize it, or with all capitalization, or put quotation marks next to it to protect your name. Okay, so that's the 5 golden rules. Okay, finally, this group already said, in the 2 different countries, UK emphasizes the meaning passing off, but US emphasizes a different meaning, unfair competition. As a result, those who emphasizes passing off is very concerned about actual financial damage. Those who emphasize the second focus is very much trying to find out if there is an intention to benefit unfairly. Okay? So different countries have different focus when it comes to trademark battles. Okay. Whether you are looking for actual financial damage, 40% of the profits, or you're trying to find out if they are competing unfairly to benefit others. So that's the second focus. All right. So I hope a discussion like this will help the next 2 groups when you do your presentation. And finally, I want to just answer a couple questions. All right, the first questions are related to handwriting analysis. I think I don't need to address this because the answers are the same as phonetics and phonology. In other words, you need to have enough data to do a quantitative analysis of the corpus to determine the pattern of your handwriting or the pattern of your speech. Of course, you cannot use a few words to decide. There's too much variation. So the answer is try to get as much data as you can because there is a pattern if you have enough examples. Okay. Number 2, remember last time I mentioned front and back, and the day before yesterday and the day after tomorrow. Some students are curious about why Chinese use a different way to conceptualize time. And let me give you an example like this. Actually, there are 2 ways to conceptualize time. mostly in the Western concept, you use an ego, moving ego metaphors. In other words, you're moving, walking, right? And when you're walking, what's in the past, what's in front is future. What's behind is past when you're walking, right? Now, let's use the moving time, like water moving in front of you as you're standing there watching the river where the time flows, like that. Then as it flows, okay, what's in the past? If you're standing there watching the river flows, what's in front? The past. What's the future? It's coming. Remember? Now, do you understand? It depends on how you view this. Whether you view moving time, you're standing there stably watching time going. Okay? So in Chinese, we have 前不见古人，后不见来者，念天地之悠悠，独怅然而已涕下. Right? So that's a Chinese poet standing there watching time like river flowing like that. So you say in the front, that means the past. You don't see any old descendants, old ancestors. And in the back, you don't see people coming. Hey, that's the opposite. That's because we use the moving time as the metaphor. But in Western conceptualization, we only use moving ego metaphor. Okay, that's the difference. I hope you appreciate it. All right, and a student asked about what's the function of spectrograms if we can't use it as evidence of voice print. It's never meant to be used as evidence of voice print. And analysis like this can only rule out that someone probably is not the suspect, but not to prove he is the suspect. And the function of spectrograms are used to determine the sound. For example, if you look at the frequencies, S, fricative, is higher, and alveolo-palatal fricative is a little lower. Well, that's phonetics. So you read this to determine consonants and vowels. That's the purpose. Okay? And finally, you asked about final presentation. I don't mean final presentation, I mean joint class presentation. And you ask, do I have to go? Is it obligatory?